Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to tell you about more of the things that we hear in the New Age spiritual community that the 25th has different descriptions for or explanations for. And this is just for fun. There is no judgment whatsoever. This is just a perspective. And since we've been given so much information from the 25th, I thought I would do this video. This is actually the second video in this series that would explain a little bit, would summarize a little bit what the 25th has told us about how our reality works. So I figured I would just create a sort of bullet point description of the differences. And in fact, I will link below in the description box. You will find below this video, you will find a free PDF download where I have created a whole list of things that are different, and they're different. And that way you can just see for yourself. So sometimes it's nice to have a little summary of the basic concepts that underline a certain message. All right, so let's jump in. The first point I wanted to talk about is something that we tend to believe or I used to believe for sure, was that old souls are wise and that new souls have much to learn. What the 25th has said to this is that there are no new souls and we've all been around forever. In other words, the concept of new souls and old souls is based on the fact that souls are separate, and that means that new souls are coming in all the time or being created all the time by source. Whereas the 25th has told us we've all been around forever. We might play the pretend game of being new to this game, but that's just a role we play for fun. And all of us are essence, meaning that there are no separate souls. We're all one. We're all part of one. We are all source, and therefore it would be impossible for us to have new souls coming in. Source has created the 25th dimension, which is where all our highest selves reside, and it's created it forever and ever ago. We're talking eternity here. And so since then, really, there's been no more essence as created, because energy is indivisible and essence is indivisible as well. So how many souls can you get out of essence? In terms of what the 25th has explained to us, this wouldn't make any sense. All right, then let's move on to the next point, which is that the dark is the cause of all low vibrational and negative things that have happened on Earth. The 25th response to this is this: we have all supported dark ideas and systems on this planet because they do the job of allowing us to believe in separation and keep this game going. They would not exist if the majority of essences had not wanted them to exist. In other words, we all have light and dark inside of us. If one person, and I'm not even talking about the entire multiverse where there are trillions of people living, if one person on this planet is capable of doing something, it means we're all capable of doing that thing. And I know that one of the things that is nearest and dearest to our hearts is to pretend that we are good while other people are not as good as we are, for the most part. And that's just a game we play, because the truth is we've all played different roles in different lifetimes. Many of us have incarnated over and over here, but in general, we've all incarnated over and over in a multiverse. I mean, most of us have been around forever and in the game, in the matrix. Of course, we've been around forever at the 25th level. And so we've all played different roles. So we might have been the bad guy at some point, doing things that we would find objectionable today based on our current consciousness level. Even us ourselves, many years ago, say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we might have thought of things very differently. We might have judged things very differently. Our judgment, our opinion of things changes with time, even in our own lifetime. So imagine how much it would change among different lifetimes. And, and then when you start talking eons, that's a whole different story. And so this makes sense to me. This resonates with me. And again, this is just perspective, take it or leave it. It's not as I always say, it's not a cult. All right. So next, Other planets are in higher dimensions and therefore have higher consciousness than we do. There is a hierarchy of conscience in the multiverse based on dimension. So now what the 25th has told us about this is that higher dimension does not equal higher consciousness. Most aliens are still unaware that this is a game. They also have darkness and polarity. And basically, one of the reasons why New Earth, the 25th has told us that New Earth is this new planet that is in 7D, and that is waiting for some of us to move there, is because the 25th has told us that New Earth is in the 7th dimension. But at the same time, the people who will be on New Earth will have a consciousness close to that of the 25th dimension, which is actually a first within the Matrix. And the Matrix, as a reminder, is the entire multiverse. So even aliens are inside the Matrix, meaning they're inside this holographic reality we've created to entertain ourselves. And so what does that mean? The 25th asks, does it mean that you cannot have whatever consciousness level you want to have just because you're in a certain dimension? And New Earth will prove that there is no hierarchy. Just because you're in 7th dimension does not mean your conscious level has to be 7D. And a good example of this is planet Earth. On planet Earth, even though we are in a 3-dimensional reality, many of us have different levels of consciousness. There are people with very, very high consciousness here. So what does that mean about the consciousness of this planet? And so this is just another difference that I wanted to point out. Now, next point. Most people on a planet have a certain type of consciousness tied to the dimension of the planet. Therefore, people on Earth are 3D or 4D with some rare advanced souls already in 5 or 6D. This is a concept that is believed in or talked about in New Age spirituality. And again, 25th has a different version of the situation. And this is what they say. The dimension of a planet does not determine the consciousness of the essences on that planet. The planet's dimension only determines the way things show up on the planet. Much higher degrees of consciousness are available on planet Earth and are not rare. The essences who display higher degrees of consciousness are not advanced. They have just chosen to have a different experience. Because if you've watched my previous video, you'll remember that the 25th keeps on saying that we are all the same. We are all one. That means that we're just playing here and pretending to have different levels of consciousness to experience different things. That's all we're playing. All right, next concept that I wanted to point out from New Age spirituality. And I picked these, again, it's just a smattering out of the entire list I've created. Again, I'll have the free PDF for you linked down below. But I just wanted to focus on these just because I think they're fun. I definitely used to believe these, so no criticism there. It's just, again, we have no real proof for a lot of these things. So there is no judgment. We just like to believe different things. All right, so this is one of the, well, it's 3 concepts that I'll mention here that have to do with the savior complex, if you want to call it that. So the first one is that advanced technology like med beds will save us. The second one is that the aliens will save us. And the third is that there will be a solar flash that will dramatically increase the vibration on Earth, ushering in New Earth. What these have in common, these 3 concepts, is that they all rely on our escaping this reality thanks to some external factors. So it's never us doing anything for ourselves. It's either going to be technology, and the 25th tells us that the greatest technology in the multiverse is us. It's the essence. So it's either going to be technology or it's going to be the aliens who are fighting all these battles on our behalf. And while we're here doing nothing, and thank goodness they're taking care of us because they're good, whereas we're totally lost and we can't defend ourselves, and we can protect ourselves. We don't even know what's up and what's down sometimes, and I know it feels that way sometimes here, I understand. And then that the solar flash and there are solar flares and whatever, and basically this is tied to a concept of we all need to raise our vibration, and these solar flares are allowing us to do that, and by raising our vibration we'll be able to usher in New Earth, which again is a state of consciousness that apparently we don't have yet. and all these things. And basically the 25th says that we don't have to reach any particular level of consciousness. First of all, New Earth is already there. New Earth is a planet just like this planet. But also it's not a matter of consciousness, because as long as you're 4D or above, you can be on New Earth, and many, many people on planet Earth were already 4D or above. And so we like to believe that 3D is the main offering here, but it really isn't. I mean, just even the fact that we're all, whether you listen to the 25th or you listen to whoever else you're listening to, we're all very spiritual. We're all in many ways awake. And so, of course, our level of consciousness is not 3D. So that should tell you already that that can't quite be the way it works. All right, let's talk about a different point here. Typical one, you know, that we probably heard a million times, but it's also from religion, is that God, source, is unconditional love. Whereas the 25th tells us that God, source, is everything. Good and bad are terms that we have created inside the matrix. They are game board terms. They really mean nothing. Because again, we're all very fluid and we all have the ability to be one thing or the other. We have dark and light inside of us. And it's only a matter of recognizing this. Doesn't mean that you have to show up a certain way, but the essence is truly free. There's no judgment. The essence can do whatever it wants. And so even the fact that we like to ascribe unconditional love only as the highest of the high in things to aspire to source just shows us that we are very much in resistance of any other vibration beyond love. And we don't even know what unconditional love means here. Truly, I mean, we don't really experience it on this planet. And again, this is part of the game. And so that's why we like to think that if it doesn't exist here, it must be a God quality that we can only aspire to, we can only look upon in admiration and in awe. And that's not quite the case, because that also contradicts the fact that we're supposed to be fractals or source. Now, we are fractals or source. We are source. We're made by source, of source, from source. And so it wouldn't make any sense that we would be so different from source. And we aren't. Source is everything, and we are everything. Energy, this vibration, what we see is merely a frequency among the many frequencies we can use, the many vibrations we can use to create things. And so here we're just creating something that might be different from what is being created on a different planet, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong, that we're wrong. Now, we have lived in a very imbalanced reality, and that's why we are changing this. But at the same time, it's not that it was wrong. We are doing this, but we weren't really aware of the consequences of what we've been doing. And I think many of you can relate to this. So, and related to this concept is that we are fractals of source, but source is infinitely better than us because we are fallible and lowly. And what the 25th says to this is that we are like source because we are made from source. So we are source. We're infinitely powerful beings, and we're just having fun experiencing different things and distracting ourselves, but forgetting our true nature. All right, let's move on to one last. I just want to bring up one last couple of points here. Again, this is meant to be for fun, but I did find it useful for myself to put this on, to see it black and white, and that's why I will be linking the free PDF below. Feel free to download it. Next point. There is karma, and we must balance it out, which means expiate our sins to move forward. The 25th tells us instead that there is no karma. We're here to have fun. Everything you do is just an experience. And we usually like to incarnate again and again on a certain team because these are our playmates. And so this is the premise to this explanation, is that when we started this game, we started the Matrix, we created two teams, the team of the light and the team of the dark, which are equal. These are equal teams, equally high vibrational beings on both sides. And then over time, we have, of course, given the connotation that we have to the dark, we have isolated it, we have judged it, and that's why it's grown, because we have created this extreme polarity. There's always polarity in the Matrix. That's the idea of a contrast. That's what gives fun. That's what makes the game entertaining, gives fun to to the game we're playing. But we've gone to an extreme where we're seeing people as black and white. It's almost like characters in a cartoon. And this is what has caused this major imbalance that we're now going to rectify. But basically, because of this, many of us, because of these two teams, this game that we're playing within the matrix, many of us prefer to incarnate and reincarnate again and again on one side or the other. So that's how, and then of course we keep up the team colors and we're like, okay, I'm good, I'm light, and they're bad, and they do the same thing. I'm sure you're aware of all the names that they call the goody goodies on this planet, and useless eaters and all of that. It's a game we play. The last point I wanted to bring up is that time is real. And again, this is a concept from New Age community. Time is real. We are currently in the Aquarian age, where our vibration is increasing because of the cycle we're in. The 25th instead tells us that time is not real. It's just an idea adopted within the matrix. Time is an idea. So if you want to believe in it, then of course it's going to be real for you. We love the idea of time on this planet, inside the entire multiverse, actually, because aliens also use the concept of time, because it's a measuring stick. It's really, really helpful. It's quite useful when you're describing things to say yesterday, tomorrow, whatever it is that you're describing. At the same time, it is an idea, meaning that if you don't want to believe in it, you don't have to. Nothing is going to change in your reality. The 25th explains that it's not time that causes things, is that we have different experiences, and when an experience ends, then we start a new experience. It's just this process that we are describing through the use of time. But now, because of this use of time that we have here, we're taking it to a whole new level where we have created different religions, different tribes, different cultures have created these phases to separate different periods of time. So eras or whatever they might call them. For example, in Indian culture is called yugas, and these cycles. And so basically now they're structuring these cycles in terms of say, oh, this is a good cycle, oh, that's a bad cycle. Almost as in, again, outside reality has to affect us, and therefore means if we're in a bad cycle, this is what's going to happen. Now, it doesn't mean that we haven't noticed, or that some have not noticed, have wanted to see some cycles repeating. So they're saying, well, there is repetition here, there's a pattern, and therefore it must be true. But the truth is, and 25th points that out, then I think even with our 3D eyes, we can possibly relate to this, is that when you want to see something, you're going to see it. So what ends up happening is that you kind of ignore everything that does not support your theory, and then you pick and choose certain facts, and then you say, here we go, the theory is proven. And this happens all the time because it's inevitable to take into account everything, the myriad of things that happen in the world. So it's easy to say, oh, in this age, in this time and period it's of history, this is what we're going to see. You disregard anything that contradicts that theory, and then you say, here we are. So we like to do this, and again, no judgment, this is for fun. So I hope this was helpful, and again, please download the free PDF if you want to have like a visual, like a more of a black and white way of looking at this. And I also did bring up several other points of contrast, again, between New Age spirituality and what the 25th tells us about reality. So I do hope you enjoy it, and I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.